stop this Christianity of meeting needs will be the day we enter correct Christianity. All this Christianity of gimme, 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 gimme is actually paganism, modern day paganism. If all your Christianity is about God, give me car, give me wife, give me children, give me this, give me that, kill my enemy, kill my enemy, kill my enemy, give me, kill my enemy, give me. Anyone that doesn't want me to succeed, die by fire, die by fire, die by fire, die by fire, die by fire.
Hey, our
what's up, guys?
Unofficial theme song, dude. I like
welcome, that. Yeah, I like it too. Welcome to the Populist Block. This is, I think, Grant's third time rebranding, having a bit of an identity crisis, I guess, right?
It's only the second. What did you think? What else did I do?
Well, you did the whole trust the experts.
Right. That's one rebrand.
Okay, fine. I don't know. You also had Mega something.
Oh, that was my original account.
Right. Okay, so yeah.
That still exists.
We're back now with with Cake Wallet sponsoring us again, which is cool. Thank you, Cake. And we've got a focus that's less on Litecoin, but still tied to Litecoin. I don't know if we want to be powered by Litecoin. Say that I'm a big time Litecoiner, and I think it ties well into the whole populist mindset. And I know, Grant works in manufacturing, so he's definitely got this populist mindset. He's from the Rust Belt. I'm a Canadian, and I don't want to say an idiot, but maybe self-proclaimed. I'm learning as I go. I think we all are with this whole tariff thing. A lot of us have opinions, but I feel like they're just opinions of other people that we're regurgitating. Unless you have, unless you have experience in the world. And I think Grant's got an interesting point of view because he's seen it. He's seen it happen. He's seen, what happened in Ohio and Detroit and stuff over his lifetime, how those cities kind of fell apart after manufacturing left.
Yeah, I think really to kind of, if you've been paying attention the last couple of weeks, I think I talked about it a bit last week in Spaces. We did kind of a final Litecoin one Wednesday, but the idea is broadening past just crypto. Crypto's a piece of the pie. We're certainly still going to talk about crypto, and I feel like the reason I've been feeling like I need to make a change, if I had to sum it up, sometimes it's I think a lot of it's the discourse in general, that I recognize even in myself that sometimes it's easy to not talk about a topic or to just brush something off as, I don't know, if you're going to be a libertarian and something is a tax, you just say, well, it's a tax, so taxes are bad and therefore it's bad. And you don't engage in a conversation. You don't really think about what is the purpose of a tax? And is it realistic to have taxes? And should we, instead of trying to have a view that ultimately that removes you from the conversation, I think that's where I feel like instead of saying, I'm going to try to take this behemoth that's been created and we're going to rip everything out and go to some utopia in my mind that hasn't ever really existed or hasn't existed in 150 years. How do we maybe take this conversation and engage with the people that we've all been a part of this, right? I mean, some of these norms we've gotten used to are generations old, and start to question some of the logic that got us here and shift people towards another direction, right? One of the things that really struck me in the conversation was this concept of Americans we could never bring this back. Such a defeatist attitude that's been told to us. We've been made to believe that we're incapable of creating, and I think that's it just defeats it kills your soul in a way,
And to be fair, it's hard to see it happen, right? It happens so gradually and overnight. And I guess I want to talk to how it happened. We have Sorry about my cat.
Man, that cat, dude.
She's got ants in her pants today for sure.
I get it.
But
it's like having a kid. When you have a 2-year-old kid, that's what it's like. It's like they will not. You get on the phone with somebody, they're just going to be up in your grill the whole time.
I had a plan for how the show would go today. I thought we could talk about obviously the tariffs. I watched last night. I didn't get a chance to finish it. I watched like the first hour or so of the All In podcast that dropped, around 8:00 at night last night. They had was this guy Larry Summers, who was State of the Treasury during Bill Clinton, the Clinton administration.
Yeah,
and he was responsible for opening free trade with China during that time, right? And so he's got some insights, and actually David Sachs is on that episode as well, who we all know is the crypto and AI czar of the United States right now. So he's got like kind of an inside track as to what's happening in the state of mind over in the White House, direct line with Trump himself, and just hearing them go at it, man. I know you haven't seen it yet, so I took some notes and like some interesting timestamps.
Yeah, pull some clips. Yeah,
so
I'll react. Man. I don't have time. I'm not going to sit down. I mean, as much as I'm a guy that creates 2-hour episodes of things, I don't think I'm going to sit down for 2 hours. But if it's a podcast, I'd be more likely when I go walk my dog or something.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's long, and they really have some interesting insights, and they bring up some interesting points, and I think they cover all the bases. Basically, there's two guys that are super liberal and are hypercritical of what has been happening, and two guys that are backing him, being like, listen, this is the reality. It's a question of national security. Supply chains need to be restored in America. Otherwise, we're vulnerable to China, to the whims of the CPP, essentially. And so we'll do that for a bit, and then afterwards, I'd like to go and set Grant up. Change gears a bit. Set Grant up with a BTC Pay server store. I think it'd be fun. I've got my server up and running with MWeb, the whole new MWeb plugin that Hector created for us, working smoothly. And since we've got this new podcast, this new channel, I think it'd be fun to have some kind of a tip jar for the populist block, just for demonstration purposes. Yeah. We're not out here begging for cash. We've got a sponsor. I mean,
well, Shaw's done. One of the things that we're going to talk a bit about that kind of inspired me too is the idea of that work. Highlighting some people that are achieving or doing cool stuff on their own. Again, Americans or Canadians, honestly, I don't care, or even just anyone around the world, just that are kind of going out and making an effort to do something. Like, I think the ability to accept payment, I think is, it's one of the reasons what, I think most of us got into crypto is this idea you could have a money that can be used across anywhere in the world, and it's easy to send. And so to help people set up a shop for something like that, I think would be really cool. So that's kind of where I'd like to see that, if people can use this
out of middleman, being able to do it self-sovereignty style, right, with privacy.
Right.
So I'm really impressed with BTC Pay server. I think the dev team over there is top notch. The product they have is excellent. Look, I haven't run a business off of it, but maybe I'll try. Who knows? But the point of this is just to show people how easy it is, and what kind of, how they might be able to integrate it into their own lives, and if they're technically savvy, set it up and maybe help onboard friends and family and neighboring businesses and stuff, right, to get this whole circular economy started. BTC Pay server has certainly done an excellent job in, I guess, allowing us to start. They've bootstrapped the process. They've got a bunch of cryptocurrencies that are available. You can use Monero as well, and Zcash. They created, there's a new update. But listen, we'll talk about that in like 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, why don't you jump into your tariff stuff here?
Sure. So we've got here this all in pod. I'll share my screen. These guys are basically going over everything that's happened, right? So on April 7th, the S&P 500 had its, what is it, 7th largest drawdown in history. The 11th largest sell-off in American history.
Wow, look at 1987. Holy crap. 2 days in a row.
Yeah. 26, 20%.
That was really before my time. I was like 7 or 8. That wouldn't have meant anything to me, but my dad probably was freaking out.
And this is all like, what was this? My God. This is the tweet. What was the day called? I forget.
What's that? Black Monday you're talking about?
No, on the 7th of April.
Oh, Liberation Day, the 2nd.
Liberation Day.
The 2nd of April is when he
did it. That was the 2nd of April?
Yeah, it was actually.
Oh, and this isn't the day he had all those the penguins and stuff. Oh, no, you're right. That happened on a Wednesday or Thursday evening after hours. Yeah. That penguin country that really got everyone caught off guard, and it was like, well, not, but like just people were making fun of, is an interesting one. I don't know what the point is. If I were to speculate, I would say that was to close some loopholes to prevent Australians from, shipping goods to that.
Yeah. Obviously, it's it's like country of origin. I thought about that too. Like what's preventing China from just shipping stuff to Mexico, and Mexico puts 10% and sends it here, right? Mm-hmm. How are we preventing that? I know there's some. Actually, it's funny you mention that because I looked into it a little bit. There's some standards around it internationally, but as we know, sometimes people don't follow the rules. But apparently, and this is what's so frustrating about the tariff talk, is like people will say, well, there's no way we're going to do this stuff, and we're not, China's got plenty of other customers and they're not going to be affected by this. But then at the same time, it's like they're also going to skirt the rules and they're also going to cheat. And it's like, well, why would they have to? If supposedly we're not even a big customer there, won't they just move on and act like nothing happened? So it can't be both. It can't be both the sky is falling and it's really not that big a deal because China has other customers at the same time. I mean, it impacts obviously our costs in the US, but as far as, and this is like the separation of probably what they'll get into of, we'll just call it Main Street and Wall Street. If a company, some of these people that talk about, hey, my small business is ruined because I import cheap shit from overseas and mark it up 80%, and I don't have any real labor in the US. I just have a warehouse. And I've been into places like this where they literally it's just a warehouse. They receive truckloads or, shipping containers full of stuff, and then they either repackage it or they just break apart pallets and send out the units to Walmart or whatever. That happens all day. Yeah. So those people, you go, well, okay, you lost your business. I'm sorry, but I mean, it does. It's a difficult transition. We're going to have a lot of people that suffer from it. But at the end of the day, is it better that those things are made in the U.S.? And I think, I don't think this should be an absolutist point of view. I think you're talking about if something can be made in China for $10 and we can't make it for under $100, well, okay, if there's a 50% tariff, then it's a $20 good. Is it bad for the, consumer that the cost doubled? Yes, but if there's this offset, this is this balance. If we are taking this tax on, because you're Jamaican, it's like a sales tax essentially, right? Which is a regressive tax,
and it's going to be inflationary. Like there's going to be an acute inflationary reaction at first before we start to see any of the benefits, and so that's a tricky part, right? Because these tariffs come into effect.
Because this is a twist of language that I've noticed, and I'm not saying you're like falling for it or trying to perpetuate it. Okay. But I want to separate the two phrases of price increases and inflation, because those are two different things in my mind. And inflation is the growth of the money supply that devalues your money. It's sent down from the Fed and the federal government, where price increases can happen regardless of inflation. It's an increase in demand versus supply.
Sure.
Right? And supply can be affected by, like, it costs more in labor to produce the thing. So therefore, supply is restricted in a way. And that's what causes prices to go. Because the reality is, if some of these prices go up, there's a lot of stuff that just people won't buy. Like, how many things do you buy at the store where you're like, well, it's only $15. It might be kind of cool. I'll check it out. Not a life essential thing. I mean, gosh, think about the camera I'm using right now. It was probably made in China. It was cheap as dirt. I don't know, this thing was $25 or $30, surprisingly inexpensive. But if it were 50 or 70, would I change my decision? Possibly. I might go, okay, well, I got to save up for another month or whatever it is. Or I decide, that's not worth it.
For sure. And I have to say, like, when I'm on Instagram or Facebook looking through the feed and stuff, I'm constantly peppered with ads from Temu and other, junk websites that sell you things like trinkets and widgets and stuff from overseas.
Yeah.
And if suddenly those are no longer $1, or like sometimes they're like free, all you have to do is pay for shipping and taxes.
Right.
Like
free.
Like, do you even, like, I've bought in some nonsense off these things, right? Like massagers and shit. And my girlfriend got some red light stuff, right? Like, which we don't really need, but yeah, it's certainly going to cause money to stop flowing out of the country. If it's no longer free, if it's now, $30, say like a real world price for something that is not as good quality as we could get if you were to spend like $100 on, for example. Yeah, I mean, listen, I see what you're saying, but I also do still believe that when these, like, okay, when a car, so Audi had shipping containers, right, docked, and they left their cars on the container for a few days, because the second they come off the container, the tariffs are applied, right?
Okay.
And so they actually moved some before, like they had some cars destined for the US, and they were like, well, look at this. So it's like 25% or whatever. I don't know how much it would have been depending on the country. And they decided to reroute those containers to Canada and Mexico instead. So, right. And some of them actually, they did just stay at the port. And after 5 days or so, when the tariff pause came into effect on April 9th, they then let them off the boats. But yeah, dude, like it's gonna have an impact. Yeah. Cars
I'll continue to say the way Trump has gone about it has been ridiculous. Like, you would want to, if you're going to have them, you want to announce it. Like, hey, in 6 months, these are going to go into effect. And that gives people time to react and gives people time to reroute and find new supply chains and, new manufacturing partners. Or, there's empty buildings out there that you could retool to produce here in the U.S., but it's hard. 6 months is a pretty rapid pickup for somebody to put a facility. If you're going to build new, you're probably talking, I would guess at least a year to build new. But yeah, and that's the thing. I don't think is. Just this like club, just like I'm going to just surprise everybody with the rates is like crazy.
And so you got to ask yourself, like, what is he hoping to achieve? What is like the measures of success for these tariffs, right? Like, at what point is the juice worth the squeeze? And what are we fighting for? And again, like in the pod, I can play this, but
yeah, go ahead.
Maybe I'll do that. Let me. But before I do that, let's just say, like, April 9th, we had the third largest gain in the S&P 500 in American history. April 9th, 2025, 9%. That's something. We're still down, but what can you say? All right, so let me just start this here at. All right, that's good.
and reducing dependencies if, to Ezra's point, 2 years from now, we were to grade it? Give us some specifics here, Chima.
There is a major issue that the United States has that's much bigger than China, which can be framed in the lens of resiliency and the ability to fend for ourselves. There are supply chains that have many single points of failure. And independent of whichever country that single point of failure exists, it could be an ally, or it could be a foe, or it could be a frenemy, that creates risk. And I think what we are learning, and David's right, it was really highlighted during COVID, we are not in a position to take care of what we need. So if I had to very precisely answer Ezra's question, I would say that we need to measure and protect 4 critical areas. Everything else, I think we can deal with some inefficiency, some single points of failure. But the following 4 areas, Ezra, I would say are sacrosanct. Number 1 is all of the technology, both the chips as well as the enabling technology around artificial intelligence. It must be a robust, largely American supply chain. It must. You cannot have single points of failure outside the United States, because what you see is even in allied countries, their posture towards things like free speech and other things can ebb and flow. Their posture on trade, their posture on defense. Okay, so that's number 1. Can change.
Chips. Got it.
Number 2 is energy. We have a critical deficit of electrons.
Yeah.
I think that's actually, I hadn't thought about that, how critical that is, that even just accepting anything from your enemies, not knowing what is happening with that information, right? Like, how is it being tracked? And, is equipment coming over here? Could it be bugged or, in some way? We don't have any control over that if you're not producing the actual thing. So,
and with chips, with CPUs, they could put hardware viruses or hardware bugs in there that would enable them to have backdoors, and there'd be no way for us to even know. We couldn't even reverse it. We couldn't even tear them apart, right? If they put them in like 10% of CPUs that we get from them, it would take a Herculean effort to discover. And meanwhile, they could be sending data back home, right? And there's so much, like in Canada, we had this thing where when 5G was being rolled out, one of the major providers for these contracts was Huawei. And I mean, now they're not considered they're considered an enemy of the state, right? They're part of the CCP, and the United States no longer considers them a friendly corporation. So it's not without a reason, right? They could put viruses in their hardware that would enable them to spy and or just maybe not even spy, but just remotely disable hardware and break it. And imagine if we had 5G towers everywhere, and suddenly overnight, they just turned off. Disaster. And we saw that during COVID, right? We didn't see that during COVID, but we saw where the supply lines were tested during COVID. Cars, I had a car on order. I couldn't get it with the features I wanted, with the safety features I wanted, because the chips were not available. I was able to get one without, say, like that forward LiDAR sensor, the lane assist and whatnot. But with it, I would have had to wait like 6 months.
Okay. Well, so he's got technology. I think I'm going to predict defense, energy, and food. Those are the 4 I think he's going to say.
We'll see. Yeah.
In America, we do not have the capability we need to make the energy we need quickly in many ways. We have supply chain issues on nat gas.
Yeah. So number 2 is energy.
We have critical supply chains that can be shut off by China around photovoltaics. So whether you believe in coal, whether you believe in nat gas, whether you believe in clean energy, we are in a very fragile place.
We got to shore that up. Okay, I think we're in agreement. Keep going.
Number 3 there are critical material inputs that drive the material science of the future. Rare earths are an example. Going back to chips, things like gallium, things like phosphorus even. So we have a critical minerals and rare earths and material science input problem. And then the fourth, Ezra, are
I just want to say, like, we mentioned Wednesday about the rare earth minerals, and a lot of that was we kind of did it to ourselves, right? With this NIMBYism back where we just didn't want mining in our own backyard. And it was just more cost efficient.
There's probably a lot. It's probably much more highly regulated. You know, I mean, everyone probably knows the famous video, Joe Rogan and Elon, I think it was, Joe Rogan, somebody talking about the cobalt farms or cobalt mining in Africa, right? It's the cost to do things. You know, at the root of all this is that the cost to do things here is so much higher. That's what's driving away this, that's what's making what I would call Wall Street not excited about any of this stuff.
Prospects of losing all that profit for sure.
Yeah, and it's it's a slippery slope. So you have to be mindful. You do want to have goods, but it's a tough conversation. There's a reason certain topics become such hot topics. And it's because, and not like the clothing store, it's because there's layers to it. It's very easy to understand both sides of the conversation. But okay, we'll continue. Sorry, or if you had something else to.
Pharma APIs, so that when American citizens get sick, we have the ability to not just make it, but also design it and manufacture it. Because some of these APIs, the active principal ingredients for many of the drugs, require very convoluted and complicated processes, cold chains, and the like. And again, we depend on folks whose view of the United States can change in real time. So if I had to say to you, Ezra, what I would expect is if the United States government, whoever was in charge, would put those four things on a board, then detail out all of the key inputs, measure how much we can make ourselves versus import, and then basically try to level that playing field, we would be in a very good place.
A couple things, because I think I probably agree with all of that. And what it sounds like is an excellent argument for Joe Biden's policies, which were functionally, maybe not the pharma side, just literally that. Let's pull out semiconductors and the semiconductor supply chain. Let's pull out energy. Let's pull out a couple of things like that. What was it? A high fence around a small garden was what Jake Sullivan called it. Let's particularly try to restrict the supply chain export of AI critical materials to China. They had a whole set of policies about this. Now, the Trump administration, the thing we are in theory here discussing, is an extraordinarily broad-based set of policies. It is tariffs on not just China, it's on Brazil. It's not just on critical industries like Chamath is talking about, but it's on, mangoes and avocados and, lumber from Canada and basically everything else. I guess there's an argument I could sort of extract out of this that the Biden administration believed what they called friendshoring, which is that you want to create an integrated supply chain of allied countries that we can work with and that we can rely on. And the Trump administration, I think, believes something, depending on who's talking, more like that the entire supply chain needs to be onshored to America specifically. But one of the problems, and the reason I keep trying to push people to be very clear about their arguments and very clear about their metrics, is that I feel like there's this king's cup of what we're trying to achieve here, where one day it's that we're trying to achieve the reindustrialization of the American heartland, and the next we're trying to replace the income tax with tariff income, and then the next we're just using it as all-purpose surplus leverage against any country that does anything we don't like. And the next day we're, using it for an entirely third purpose, and maybe we're just going to use it to isolate China, but to bring in our friends. But none of these, you can't do all of these things at once, and it needs to be very stable if you're going to get companies to do these long-term CapEx investment decisions that take decades to play out. Nobody I know in the markets.
The fact is,
CEOs,
you guys didn't want to change anything. You guys didn't want to change anything about anything.
I wasn't in the Biden administration, number one.
I'm treating Ezra and Larry as a team.
I would love to change.
I just want to make sure
I would love to change all kinds of things.
You mean the Democrats didn't want to change anything?
Of course.
Let's see if we
Larry won't even admit that PNTR did anything.
Can we not keep doing PNTR for a minute?
Let's look forward, not backwards.
Look at the CHIPS Act. Look at the IRA Act. They did the exact things we're talking about.
Larry, go ahead.
Let's see if we can find a little bit of agreement.
Please.
Here. I agree with Chamath's agenda. I mean, I may not agree in every detail, but I broadly agree with Chamath's agenda. And I'll go a little further than that, Ezra. I think Joe Biden's attachment to energy security was kind of selective and heavily oriented to green technologies, not others. I thought canceling the Keystone Pipeline was a clear mistake. I thought the stopping a variety of things involving liquid natural gas were a clear mistake. So I think the Biden administration's approach to regulation that empowered every NGO with respect to stopping transmission lines, with respect to constructing power plants because of the importance of Democratic constituencies was a mistake. So I think energy security is a central objective of policy.
I don't want to watch the whole video.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. But,
Well, so this guy, if for people who don't know Larry Summers, he was the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury for International Affairs during the Clinton administration. So he had a lot to do with policy and the whole, I guess, letting China into the Free Trade Act during that period. Essentially, it was under his.
One thing they said is that it would take decades long for this to play out and for people to make investments. And you're probably right. I mean, I do think it's going to take a while. And a little bit of the whole it's impossible to ever reverse this trend is the idea that the actions of the past somehow had nothing to do with where we are today. It's obvious that if you look at manufacturing from the 70s, 80s, 90s, all moving overseas, it was because of policies we had that were to the benefit of these large corporations.
The free trade policies, yeah.
I mean, I think if you looked back probably in the 90s and 2000s, the conversation was always, Walmart is, destroying Main Street. And I think almost everybody can point to that today and say, maybe it's Amazon today that's doing it to a lot of people, but it's really hard to run a shop where people go in and physically buy something. Now they don't want to because it's easier on Amazon. But back in the day, before the internet, Walmart was this thing. It was just your local shoe store went out of business. Your local, maybe gift shop, your local hardware store, your local auto parts, or like an AutoZone type of thing went out of business. So all those places got zapped by Walmart or these large corporations that were sourcing things from overseas and able to do it at a much more, higher volume, more efficient rate. And at the end of it, you say, is that good for the consumer, or has that been good for these cities that got decimated? I don't know. That's the part that you have to question. Like we've moved to this idea of a service economy, and that for me to make, let me think it. Well, you brought shoes up, right? So for us to make shoes in the United States with workers who are here paying taxes in the United States and shipping them to businesses that are, an owner owns a shoe store and sells shoes and makes a living, maybe employs a couple people, but he's got his little business and makes some money. Are we ever getting back to that? I don't think that's possible. I mean,
look,
saying that, but just because the internet makes that impossible, but
yeah,
we certainly could do things here.
Look at New Balance, right? Like that's the example that I've seen online so much is, that GIF. I don't know if I could find it here real quick, but the GIF of the MAGA hat wearing American in a shoe shop, in a sweatshop making Nikes, right? You must have seen it.
Yeah, pull it up, but yeah.
This whole thing I think is nonsense. If you just have to look at New Balance, right? All their shoes are made in the U.S. Some are made in the U.K. They've got collections made in the U.K. for whatever reason, because it's trendy and cool. But they're all for the most part made in America. Sure, some of their materials, maybe a lot of their materials are sourced abroad, including from countries like China, Vietnam. But they're all assembled and manufactured in America. And New Balance, they sell a lot of shoes. I I love New Balance. I wear New Balance shoes. I wear New Balance.
Yeah, and I think
they fit
you'll
well.
still have, you can call it unfair competition. Sure. Are we going to provide preferential treatment to companies that make things in the US? That's all we're really talking about. Should it be overtly penalizing to one particular country? I don't know. Trump has a hard on about China for sure. I mean, that's been his whole thing, right?
I think it's just because they, through the policy decisions of the last 20 years, we've enabled them to challenge us, right? To challenge America's dominance. When I say us, I'm Canadian, but the American dominance in the world economy. Not only that, but like these supply lines, these critical to national security supply lines. Like he's in the video, whatever, he was going to go on to say that the third critical supply line was minerals and rare earths, right? And the fourth one is supply chains related to the farm industry for drugs.
Farm
right?
or pharmaceutical?
Pharmaceuticals, pharma. Yeah. So drugs, we saw in COVID PPE, like they were withholding masks and whatever your opinion is on N95 mask. I don't really care. Point is, they were controlling that.
Yeah, that was a very.
Yeah, they were controlling a bunch of stuff, right? Gloves, gowns, whatever, masks. But it's also just like actual drugs, like antibiotics, etc. So that's the thing. If ever we were to fall out of favor, they got us by the balls.
What's crazy about the pharmaceutical thing is like how expensive medicine is in the U.S. Right, so it's like it's not enough that you're already charging however many hundreds of dollars a month. You got to turn around and you can't even employ the people in your own country to do that. Like that seems it's greedy. I mean, I hate to say it. Like it's over the top. Man, it's like forgetting where your bread is buttered kind of thing.
It's predatory. These are corporations that put profit before all else. And this is the reason why, they're so much in favor of free trade, right? Because it costs them $5 to make a pair of Nikes in China. They have them shipped over. They sell them for $250. That's pure profit.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure it doesn't cost New Balance $5 to make their New Balance shoes. It costs them maybe twice as much, 3 times as much. Who knows? But they're still able to remain profitable. They're still able to invest in R&D and improve their product year over year.
Well, one of the things that is as our crypto talk would always go, right? Like when you talk about inflation, money is a representation of, ideally, that you've contributed something, that your work, your energy, your creativity, whatever it is, you've provided something of value to somebody else. And through inflation, they're siphoning off your life force in a way, right? They're saying that we're going to devalue your work because we think we're better equipped to do with your work and energy. We want to make these decisions for you, I guess. And I think when you're shipping your money to another place as opposed to retaining it in your neighborhood, you're hollowing out people. You're taking their, I'm telling you, man, like I want to say their soul. That's very, very like dramatic about it, but you're just taking a piece of what they built and you're siphoning it off. And like you said, it's not considering the net effect of what's happening when you take away people's ability to fend for themselves, whether it's on a national level, on a city level, or just on inside your own home kind of level. People need to feel they have a future. I actually have if you don't mind, I'm going to play a clip because a lot of what this transition was is, if you would have been in on Wednesday, something struck a passion in me, and a lot of it had to do with this idea of work. And I almost like sometimes I hear myself say this stuff, and it probably sounds like let's make the worst connection in the world. Work will set you free, right? Where that comes from the concentration camps, right?
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, it's horrible, but I'm just saying that's what it sounds. But truly, I do believe that accomplishing something and achieving something you want, or you can create something with your own hands, is extremely satisfying.
Certainly people need to feel self-actualized, and that is like the number one way people do it.
Let me see if I can.
Society encourages it. Being able to look at your hands and look at the thing you've made, that sense of satisfaction and pride you get out of it is unmatched.
I've got a few clips I want to play. Well, this one, I'm just going to play this lady because, when you're just like, somebody speaks and you go, that's exactly what I'm thinking, right? That like, oh, okay, she put it into words. And she's a Democrat. I would even put her on the level of socialist. She's somebody who's become famously she calls herself a MAGA Republican, or a MAGA lefty.
Okay.
And let me pull her up here. Her name's Batya Ungar Sargon. Boy, what a name, huh? But she went on Bill Maher recently and had kind of an interesting engagement. But she's very, I guess, pro-tariff, pro-worker. And I would recommend following her. I think what she says, I'm not saying I agree with everything, but it has some interesting points. So let me know if you can't hear this, just kind of wave your hand.
Do you know what is so amazing about this whole tariffs saga? The Americans who have the least are willing to say, you know what? Maybe I don't need that extra piece of crap from China. Maybe I'm going to make a little bit less in my 401k if it means that my children have a future. And meanwhile, you look at Wall Street, where people who are losing, yes, a lot of money, but who will, let's be honest, never be poor. In fact, they will never not be rich, no matter how this ends. And they are unwilling to donate a single penny to the future of this nation. It's so utterly backwards. It used to be that the rich had a sense of noblesse oblige. You know what? Maybe we should build a hospital, if only so the peasants don't revolt. But in America, we have this enormous class divide where the top 10% controls over 60% of the GDP and is unwilling to pay a little bit more for the next brand new iPhone, even if it means that their working class neighbors can afford to buy a home. I mean, it is so repulsive.
Okay. Yeah, listen, I agree with that 100%. A lot of it is just Wall Street reacting to their portfolios. They don't give a crap, But then you got, like, if you add on top of that the whole future of manufacturing with automation and robots and stuff, what future is there for children, anyways? If you had a 10-year-old kid today asking you what they should be when they grow up, what do you tell them? Like, what is safe from automation and AI? Which tough. Industry?
It's funny. My older daughter, kind of on her own, we don't know why. She's interested in like speech pathology, like to be a speech pathologist. And I'm like, it's actually probably pretty good. I'm sitting here thinking about the future. That's going to be difficult to automate away. And it's something that's always going to be needed. People,
the rise of autism.
Well, kids, and a lot of it is like, people who've had strokes or something like that, the ability to help them. And I'm thinking, that's probably a really good choice just by luck. But you're right. It's difficult to think about what you want them to do. And I think that's what bothers me the most, is this idea that working what we would call a menial job is somehow labeled menial, right? That these people aren't. I remember I used to, when I worked at Coca-Cola for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, just in like little regional sales running a route. And, I'd sit there and like, the guy working McDonald's, taking the garbage out, and you're thinking, how often is that just a meme of like almost to insult people like that? But those people are needed, and like to just think that it's just because it's not monetized as much that somehow that makes that person lesser. I think is really unsympathetic. And I also think it's unrealistic, because when people go, well, just work your way up, or just get into a job that's more high tech. Hey man, there's a lot of people that do not have that capability. I'm going to say this like 100 times. It's like asking someone without legs to play basketball for a living. Some people are not equipped to survive in this world, in this tech world. And I don't think that means that they should be treated as like worthless just because, actually I'll pull this up because I wasn't even going to go down this road. I don't want to get too dark, but I saw this post this week, which I think is interesting. Men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide. Researchers analyzed the language men use who have attempted suicide, and they found that useless was the most frequent word they said to describe themselves.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
that's at the heart of what I really found myself being passionate about. Is like we have a cultural crisis that, if it doesn't get fixed, is going to be the end of whatever America is. If you have people that become solely dependent on the government, they cannot create for themselves. They have no faith in themselves. They're going to just be able to be manipulated to do whatever, vote whatever way, do whatever it is, just to like survive or feel
totally
worthwhile.
But that should change. Like, so I don't know about you, but like oftentimes when I'll go out to like social gatherings and meet new people, one of the first questions they ask is like, so where'd you go to school? Right? Or what do you do? Right away, people are trying to put you in a bucket, right? And to try to decide how they should approach you. They should, give you more or less respect than
as somebody who's guilty of that. Sometimes it's just to generate conversation.
Sure,
that's
sure,
cool,
but I feel like
you build, yeah.
Okay. Say when it comes to dating, right? Because men oftentimes, when they off themselves, it's because they're lonely, right? And the dating scene is really difficult, and people are extremely materialistic. And if you're a young man and you haven't had yet a chance to prove yourself, or to make yourself independent, or find some success, then you do feel it. You do feel that pressure. People ask you, what are you doing? What kind of car you drive? Where do you live? You have a house? Are you renting? Blah, blah. And all these things kind of, and school is a big one, they all add up and weigh on people. And again, I'm going to bring back to AI. But when AI comes around and takes all our jobs and makes it so that your degree is worthless because, you can generate a prompt, or you can create a prompt and have this machine generate a response that, would otherwise require a PhD to do, someone with a PhD to do, kind of like it takes value away from all these people with PhDs and graduate degrees and whatnot, right? So is that going to happen naturally over the course of this evolution of technology? Potentially.
Mm-hmm.
I'm optimistic, and I hope then that people focus on what's important, when they're out there socializing with others, not like, so, how much money you got in the bank, more like, are you a douchebag or no? Right? Like,
well, and like, are you a net negative to the bottom line? And I'm guilty of the same thing, man. Like I'm thinking back to things I've said and thought about that, like, here's a good example. Like with schools, you could certainly have YouTube have the most brilliant teachers. And I've said this word for word, have the greatest 5th grade math teacher in the state of Ohio just teach all math. Like if they're the best one, why would you not want all your kids to conduct class with this one person? But that, again, it hollows out that sense of community. It goes against the idea of like, we need to have people in our neighborhoods that are contributing and feeling productive and feeling worthwhile. I found some really good clips this week that all read into this. This is another good one from shared by DC Investor. This is actually pretty amazingly accurate. So Carl Sagan wrote this in 1995. I have a foreboding of an America in my children's or grandchildren's time when the United States is a service and information economy, when nearly all the manufacturing industries have slipped away to other countries, when awesome technological powers are in the hands of a very few, and no one representing the public interest can even grasp the issues, when the people have lost the ability to set their own agendas or knowledgeably question those in authority. when clutching our crystals and nervously consulting our horoscopes. Man, oh man. Our critical faculties in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what's true, we slide almost without noticing back into superstition and darkness. The dumbing down of America is evident in the slow decay of substantive content in the enormously influential media. The 30-second sound bites now down to 10 seconds or less. Jesus, talk about a future.
When did you write that?
95. Low
yeah.
common denominator programming, credulous presentations on pseudoscience and superstition, but especially a kind of celebration of ignorance.
Yeah, definitely prophetic. And I mean, this is like, you've seen the movie Idiocracy, right?
Oh yeah, a few times.
With
Yep.
Terry Crews as president. Yeah, that's kind of the extreme of this statement, and it definitely is the path that resembles the path that we're on now. Hopefully, one thing I'll say is that in this quote, he says that the technological powers are in the hands of a very few. Hopefully, that gets democratized, and I mean, we're seeing it now with co-pilots available on every single Windows machine. That's a force multiplier for everyone on the planet. And
absolutely,
yeah, it's bringing us closer and closer to like, well, enlightenment. You know what I mean? Of course, there is the whole thing where it is filtering what you can ask it, so that's not cool. When you're asking it to describe President Biden, be like, name me 5 things President Biden did. It'll give you 10. But then the second you talk about Republicans or Trump specifically, it'll just block up on you and be like, I don't feel comfortable. This is a subject I don't want to talk about. So we don't know what other safeguards are in place, and that is a risk to freedom, and to democracy.
Yeah, and the platform. The good thing is like things like this, and we've got some. You and I were talking about some tools that are hopefully we'll highlight in the next week or two to be able to make your average person much more capable to producing good content. I mean, and at lower costs, but the idea that these ideas can thrive if they're received well. There's an audience. You can procure an audience, and the question is, does that audience get throttled? We don't know. That's what I've always liked about spaces, that there's a lot of free exchange in there. As ugly as they can be sometimes, I think they're one of the best places where you feel like you have unfiltered communication between people. So we have the tools to do it. We just have to decide, I think, collectively that this is the right path. I do believe what the tariff reaction told me is that there is a very, whether it's coordinated or people have been just influenced so heavily for their whole lives that they believe that cheap goods, Wall Street go up, is the end game. Like that's perfection. And to a lot of people, right? That to me, I stop and say, well, to what end? This is worth a conversation to say, to what end? What is the purpose of what we do? Why do I get up every day? Is it just to improve the bottom line of somebody somewhere that I don't even know? Or even myself? That doesn't necessarily mean that's how you conduct your entire existence. It's just, you can't orient for one metric.
Most people would agree, I think, in capitalist countries that this is something to strive for, and I don't disagree. But you have to balance, national security. And for the past 30 years or so, unfettered support for free trade, bipartisan unfettered support, not just Democratic or Republican, but like both parties, enabled China to challenge the U.S. In every aspect, right? These guys they're ready to leapfrog us.
But beyond national security, I think national identity, your cultural identity, is lost if you have no culture. And if you're unable to, because what national security is you're trying to preserve something, obviously. What are we securing? Are we just securing the ability to buy stuff? Or are we securing a belief structure that we all commonly hold? Like the reason the Japanese, they're trying to preserve their culture. That's Like, what do you need?
that's-
What's national security for if you're not protecting anything? If it's like, well, I don't care if I'm under the banner of China. What am I protecting? I'll just fly a different flag, right? Why does Ukraine care if Russia comes in and just puts another flag up? If they have no cultural identity, if they don't have a belief that they're trying to protect against somebody else's beliefs, then just fly a different flag. It doesn't even matter.
So you're talking about how rapid capitalism has taken our cultural identity from one that was maybe focused on family and God, say, to something that's more individualistic, right? To the me, gimme culture that we have today.
Sure. Whatever the national identity is, the point is there's no purpose of national security if you're not securing anything. It doesn't, what are you protecting? Like, why wouldn't we just become China? What's the harm in that? That'd be the question. If China invaded or said, hey, we want to, or shit, right now.
What's the worst that could happen?
Why does Canada care? Why does Canada not want to be the 51st state? What is it that you guys are protecting? Your history, right?
Honestly, I mean,
anthem, your flag, which may sound like stupid shit, but it's the thing that makes you like connected to your neighbor. It's very.
We've got free healthcare, bro.
But you get what I'm saying.
And we don't have rampant gun violence either. Like mass shootings in Canada are like less than 1% of what you guys have down there. And I mean, look, beyond that, I'll agree. We import most of our culture from you guys. Like most of our culture, if not all of it, is coming from the States. It's so derivative of American
here's my
culture.
question. Why do you think it's been so offensive to Canadians that even floating the idea of becoming a part of America?
Why? I mean, look, it depends who you ask. I think a lot of Canadians are easily influenced by the media, our local media. And so if a talking head says something on TV, then they'll back it 100%.
But don't you think it would be a sad day? Wouldn't you be sad? I'm surprised to hear you say this. That you wouldn't feel.
No, listen.
This is our nation. These are my people, and we kind of just let ourselves be evaporated out of existence. Like our culture just melded with somebody else's, and we didn't even fight.
Would it? I mean, like if you think about it, Canadians have more in common with people from New York than people from New York have in common with people from Texas. So, like, what is culture?
I don't know. I don't necessarily know about that. Because I think free speech is.
Yeah, but so people in Canada are very pro-abortion. We're very liberal up here.
Right.
In New York, you're just as liberal, if not more so, right? In terms of like, the trans rights and all this stuff, gay rights. Mm-hmm. A lot of that we share in common with people from New York and Vermont, and these northern states, Seattle, Washington, or whatever.
Northwest, yeah.
But people down south, Arizona, Utah, Texas, except Florida, they don't share those values that people in the northern states do. So, like, what is culture? How different are we, actually?
Well, yeah,
I don't know. I think it is a knee-jerk reaction to people just being like, "Whoa, you want to take away, my free healthcare? You want to take away the safety that I enjoy when I walk down the streets? Like, I don't have to. I'm not worried about getting gunned down in the streets. For example, my girlfriend can walk down at night on her own."
Okay,
downtown.
Make it more real here. You guys up there, you have your First Nations stuff, right? Where they would take First Nations children from, you told me about this, right? The tribes, and they would educate them and put them in their education camps, essentially, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these.
Is it not a shame?
Residential schools.
These people's culture was destroyed.
Totally.
Whatever
that do with that, by the way.
Whatever you want to identify it as, it's their dress, or it's their music, or it's what ties them together. And I understand. Look, you're right. These are huge swaths of land we're talking about. It's very different here than it is like in Europe, where you have, like Estonia, or you have, these small. Poland's pretty tiny. compared to the United States and Hungary, and they all have their own history. And again, with the European Union, what's so difficult, everybody wants to have their own identity. And if you don't have a culture to protect, then I don't quite understand what national security is protecting against.
I mean, it's protecting against our lives or safety.
But why would you fight? Like if China came in and invaded, just go, all right, cool, whatever, put your flag up. I don't care. Like, what are you defending if you're not defending your belief system? You get what I'm saying? It's just a different
I feel like that's relative though. And like tangibly, what are we protecting? It's our borders. It's our way of life. It's the current supply chains. It's, how things are governed, how decisions are made. Right.
Yeah. Which is, where you're seeing like,
we have,
Sharia law, a good example of, there's a lot of places. I don't know if they've actually ever done anything, but the idea that you could come into the United States, elect a city council and try to enact Sharia law in certain parts of the country is against our culture. It's against the way we operate. And so people have a really very real reaction to that, because it's like, no, you can't do that because it fucks up the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that is the same. I think that's where I'm starting to see, if we outsource all of our work and we just hollow out this bottom 20, 30% of people and don't give them the opportunity to actually be anything, live out the American dream. If you take that away from people, you're abandoning your culture. Because our culture in America, and I would imagine Canada's similar, is that people should have opportunity to work, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's at the core of what we are. And so if you remove that from people, you're basically saying you're not worth it. Certain part of the population, sorry, I know having a job would be nice. It would make you feel good about yourself. You might be able to buy a home and get a family, but it's really cheap in China to do that. So sorry about your luck, but I'm going to be fine. So fuck off. Like, that's ultimately what's going on here, is that you don't deserve. I'd rather give it to somebody overseas because it's cheaper for me to go buy an iPhone or to buy literally like a $500 coffee maker, some ridiculous keyboards and probably guitars. A lot of guitars are made overseas for sure nowadays. So,
I get your point. And definitely keeping things to the way we're used to is our culture, right? We don't know what's happening in China. We have like reports of the Uyghurs genocide over there. Heaven forbid we turn, North Korea comes and takes us over, and then we really know what we were giving up. You know what I mean? In terms of freedom.
I want to get in the BTC Pay service.
Yeah, I think we should switch. We should switch
I want to
gears
do
a
one
little
more
bit,
clip, because this guy, I'm trying to get a hold of him. I messaged him hoping we could interview him. I would like to highlight people, and if you out there want to send me a message on X, a story, you could email me. If you've got something, I want to highlight people that are like out achieving, even if it seems small.
That guy was cool. Yeah.
If you're making something at home, or you got a small business and you're like, hey man, this is something, it's a hobby. I geeked out on it and I learned something. So this is a guy that, we had this long spaces on Wednesday, and I talked a lot about this. And like the next morning, this thing popped to my feet. I was like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So I looked at this guy's TikTok. He works like in a warehouse driving forklift today, but he graduated from barber school. And so I just want to play like his reaction to it, how proud he is of himself.
Man, look, bro, this shit right here, like, bro, I down there want to cry, ain't gonna lie to you. Bro, nigga just graduated barber college. Just graduated barber college. Check me out. Barber certificate. What'd that say? Successfully completed. Do you hear me? Successfully completed, nigga. Hold on. Certifications in advanced clipper cutting. What? Advanced beard design. What? Advanced shaving techniques. Your boy certified. Huh? first in my family to complete college, G. It is what it is, barber school or university. I did that. I think got a lot going on. Finna have a baby. I just moved, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm working. Like, bro, this is my career. I'm up right now, bro. Everybody who know me for real. I done had a lot of struggles in life. A lot. But I'm up right now. 1,000 points, Jack. For the home team, I'm up right now.
Love that, dude. Like, that's perfectly says what I'm all about right here. Just that this guy sees a future. You know what I'm saying? He says, "This is
Janelle." Yeah, congrats, Janelle. He saw his own future. He made it happen.
Yeah,
making it happen. Yeah,
and yeah, just like what that does to a guy to see if to be optimistic about the future. I said, I just had a kid. I'm just moving, so like I can get out there and achieve, and this can be like stability for me to do. To put down roots, to be a part of a community. Mm-hmm. I just think I want to highlight stuff like that because I think I don't want to be too sexist about it. I think it's really critical to men. But obviously it's critical to women too. So I'm not trying to discount that, but I just think it's really needed in young men today. You know, in my world, one of the things in manufacturing, because I work in that world, finding people to work is difficult. And when people say no one wants to work, it's because people see that and they mock it, right? They think, oh, well, you graduated barber college. What are you proud of? Who cares? This cynicism, man. It's like, no, that's worthwhile, man. This guy's a barber and does his job. And I mean, it's stuff we need to have happen, man. And
yeah, you don't need a Bugatti to consider yourself a pimp. This guy's a pimp, you know.
Yeah,
he's doing good. A lot of people just
wants to put on him, you know.
That's it. I mean, everybody's got to start somewhere, and like I said, not everybody is meant to. You can't judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree. You know what I mean?
Dang, that's profound. Yes, sensei. You sent me a good thing too the other day. I don't have it in front of me. The something about it was in our spaces. You sent me some good stuff. I forget what it was about work.
Oh,
the divine,
the sacred masculine, the sacred masculine energy and false masculine energy. Yeah, I mean, whatever. We can go on about that, but I'd rather talk about BTC Pay server.
Yeah, let's do that. So go follow that guy, Janelle Dominique. So I need to share my screen, right?
Yeah, if you got your store up, I think if you haven't already, you should put your MWeb view only key.
All right, so I got to set up a wallet. I didn't set up a wallet yet. Hang on.
Well, look, you can set up a hot wallet now and like live, and then we'll destroy it. But yeah, your MWeb wallet, you want to put that in there off camera, because I'm going to be sending you something. So, although,
I gotta find. Hang on a second. I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah, let me share my screen for a second here.
So basically, just up to this point, what Animal's done. I'm going to move this. And maybe we can do this instead. Whoop, that's not what I want. Well, if that becomes an issue, But all I did, I downloaded last night Electrum, Litecoin Electrum wallet with MWeb, which you can find on GitHub. Let me actually show you. I went here. Did you see that wallet, by the way? Okay, good.
Yeah.
If you just search Electrum, here, I'll just show you where kind of the path I got. Litecoin MWeb Electrum. You click on the releases at GitHub. This one here, and then Electrum LTC 9 setup, right? .exe. LTC release 9 setup.
Yeah, so that's to get your MWeb wallet. Yeah.
So that allowed me to download the Electrum wallet, which took, maybe an hour or two. It wasn't super long to sync.
Hey, listen, I just noticed something on your screen that I hadn't seen earlier. In your wallets, you have Litecoin, Dogecoin, but you don't have MWeb, and you should see MWeb over there. I'm curious. What the hell? No, that's not what we want. We might have to cancel this demo. Can you go back?
Let's just do regular Litecoin. It's okay.
All right. Well, so in that case, look, if you just create a new wallet, but I want to know what's going on and why you don't see the MWeb wallet. And I wonder, can you go back just one?
I don't want to
screen?
connect my Electrum.
No, you don't want to do that now. Just close this for a second, please, Grant. Go back.
Go back.
Go back. And actually click the X up there.
Yeah.
If you go down to plugins, interesting. So on my end, I have a plugin, and I can go to manage plugins, and I can choose BTC Pay server, but you can't seem to do it on your account. Why not?
Raggy.
This is something I'll have to talk to Hector about. Maybe he knows what's up. If you go to settings,
I don't want to give anything away here.
Let you? Oh my god! So basically, let me share my screen so you can see what it's supposed to look like.
All right. Don't let perfect be the enemy of the good, animal.
All right. So here I've got my MWeb wallet here. I've got Lightning. I've got my Lightning thing set up. Dogecoin, Litecoin, whatever, etc. Damn. Okay. Now, what I want to do with you is set up some kind of
let's do a plain Litecoin. It's fine.
Okay, fine. We'll do it.
Jeez Louise, I'm gonna bump you out of here.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get this started. I'm ready to see the chief is out there. The tips are going to start pouring in.
This is what I wanted to test last night, dude. Remember that? And you were too busy?
Yeah, okay. Set up a wallet.
Yeah, okay.
So what kind of wallet should I use?
Wallet. Let's do a hot wallet for now.
They're grayed out. What is going on here?
No. I gave you permission. Let me... Oh, hold on.
Uh-oh, Chief said he lost $2 using BTC.
Okay, refresh this page. Create a new wallet now.
Seems very... I'm going to tell you, this seems very centralized and dependent on you right now, Animal.
It is. But...
But once you get set up, you're good. I'm
yeah.
not admin. I'm able to import or generate a wallet. All right, so...
Yeah, you're going to want SegWit. That's fine.
Enable pay join?
Yeah.
That's like a coin join, I'm guessing.
Well, click on the little information thing. I'm not sure, actually.
Oh, boy.
That's okay. So pay join, what is this? Detail technical...
It's probably, look at this. It's important that you need at least one UTXO to pay for PayJoin to work. Okay. I don't know. This is nerd stuff.
Whatever. Enable it.
It sounds like it might happen sometimes, but not guaranteed. No, I don't want. No. See, here's my problem. Here's your problem.
Why?
I'm doing Bitcoin. I'm going to do Litecoin.
Oh.
It's in the wrong environment. God dang it.
Creating wallet, yeah.
Some new stuff came up, and all of a sudden, I've got invoices. Okay. Hot wallet, SegWit, create. Oh, thanks a lot. Well, we're going to destroy this, you said, right?
Yeah, we're going to destroy that.
Is he going to test me?
No.
Okay. So you guys can access that wallet. It's going to be $0 in it.
Okay, so now if you go to your, on the left side of the screen, if you go to plugins, you go down a bit. Yeah, okay, go to a point of sale.
Okay.
You're gonna create an app name, say Populist Block Tip Jar.
Yeah. Whoops. Just look at me click clacking away. All right.
And now we're just gonna click on keypad.
Okay.
And that's about it. Hit save.
Do I have to enable tips?
No, I mean it's a tip jar anyway. So yeah, just hit save, and I'll see if I can do something here.
Oh, so that's cool. So I'm guessing some of these other things like display item selection. So enabling tips is like if you had a food truck or something and you wanted to have it as an option.
Right. Now give me 1 second.
Oh, you can request information. That's kind of cool. Okay, so this is really the retail spot. Okay, so I'm saving this, by the way.
Perfect. Now I've linked this application to a URL. I'll send you this in the private chat. You'll see it in StreamYard.
Okay.
If you click this, so you got your own endpoint here for the tip jar.
I hope this works. Oh, cool. So how did you do that? You just did you manually create that, or did that automatically get generated?
Yeah, once your app was created, I was able to assign an endpoint to it, a website basically on my end. So yeah, now you can put that link up in your X bio, for example.
So like this, if I want to make it a QR code, then I would just
QR code that URL. Yeah.
But then when they go to send, hang on a minute. So let's say I want to go about this. This gives them the options. Interesting. Let me see if I can do this. So this is asking for $1.
Right. Here. I don't know if I can send you one. I've only got MWeb.
Hold on. I could send myself. Speaking of money, I need to, Chief's one of the few people in here right now. I got to play some poker with him. I won some money off him last time. So if I do that, it pops up. Yeah. Man, that works actually like instantly. I got to wait I just opened my wallet. Sometimes it takes a minute to sync up,
Yeah. What's fun on my tip jar, I've got Bitcoin and Lightning combined into one QR code. And if you open it up, tipjar.animalpay.com on a mobile device.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna hit send. You ready?
Yeah.
Go. 1, 2, 3. But where do I get the wallet? How do I know? Man, it took 4 seconds.
That's not bad.
Once it receives confirmation, so I can set my confirmation levels that I want, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Return to populist block. So this is that's pretty dope, man. So maybe if you set that up, it could be like, you could do buy me a coffee or something, right? And just stick. I personally drink McDonald's coffee, which is $1.79.
Let me show you what it looks like on mine. It's $1.70 is not bad, but
here,
when you have the whole thing set up here, so
Chief is asking about Exodus is removing Monero. Should MWeb be a priority for them? I don't know. I would be interested to know why they got rid of Monero. It seems in the last couple of weeks, it's been really any of the places left that are accepting Monero are seemingly abandoning it.
Interesting.
Kraken's gone, right? Or they've announced
Kraken really delisted Monero?
I think it hasn't happened yet, but they've announced it. If I'm not mistaken, again, I might be mistaken on that. But yeah, I don't know if they did it because there's some sort of regulatory fear. I wouldn't doubt that. It does seem, because I noticed Trump even ended some rules that were kind of anti-DeFi type of rules. So he does seem to be kind of freeing up crypto from regulation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, I mean, if Litecoin gets this ETF, the future is very bright for it being the primary privacy tool in the crypto world, because it's going to be available everywhere. It's past muster for whatever reason. They either don't think people are going to use MWeb, or they don't think it's, a lot of people would say it doesn't have the same teeth that Monero has as far as privacy, but just as like generic level of privacy, it's kind of wild when you use the two separately and you go, man, it's just like, why would I not use MWeb?
The fact that you can, peg out, and so that if ever you're to do a transaction with a bank or something, they would only accept transparent Litecoin, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole aspect of it allows them to really keep a closer eye on things, and it makes it so that you should be able to justify, right, where you got your Litecoin, and still be able to transact with a privacy layer. But when you go back into, I guess, the banking sphere, so
it definitely acts a lot. It's a very interesting blend between like cash and checks. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like maybe your bank isn't going to accept a $5,000 stack of cash from you, but if you're ready,
I want to draw your attention to this QR code for a sec.
Yeah.
Okay, this is in here. I've got one button for Bitcoin, and you can see that I have a Lightning address and a regular Bitcoin address. This QR code is a combination of the two, and depending if like what wallet you're using to scan it, it'll default to like either a native Bitcoin or a Lightning Bitcoin address, which I think is pretty cool. On mobile, like when I use this on my phone, when I access the website from Chrome on my phone, there's another button over here that says pay with NFC. So if you have one of those Bolt NFC cards, right? Say you're in a restaurant and you've got this payment terminal, right? And you're like going around like, and someone's got an NFC Bitcoin card, Lightning card. You just tap it to the back of the phone and it'll make the payment. You don't even need a phone. You can do it with a card.
Very cool.
It's pretty fucking slick, man.
Dude, the only thing that irritates the hell out of me on the crypto is, and again, maybe I'm wrong, this isn't possible, but if I get this screen that I can't somehow just say use Cake Wallet, like click the QR code with my finger, and then it just brings up, somewhere in the background just enables a transaction through a wallet without having to like copy the address, change to the wallet
with your phone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with Cake Wallet, like I'm able to scan the QR code. I'll do it right now. Look at this. So I'm scanning it.
Well, no, I get it, but like, let's say this pulled up on your phone as an invoice, so that you're watching this live stream.
Right. Okay.
And
so
you see that's on your screen, and you're like, oh, I wish I could scan this on the screen, but you can't. You can only scan it with the camera, which is just, it's just, it feels like it's a technology thing that I don't know why that doesn't exist right now.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I guess we could test that next, but okay. So look, I've got
like almost like having a default crypto wallet, where like if a function presents itself, you can click on the QR code and it has like its standard path. It knows to open a certain app in order to complete it, extracts information and populates it in the right place. Again, that's just me being, I don't know, cheap. But yeah, the NFC thing's really cool. So you could have like offline devices that, is that what that is, right? It's just it's a cold wallet essentially.
Right. Offline devices.
Well, like a card, right? That's technically not. Oh man, that's so interesting. Yeah, that tap to pay seems very cool.
So look, I'm gonna send the payments right now, and we'll count. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, What the fuck? Coin control. What's going on here? It's not working.
Do you not have enough in UTXO?
I should.
You may have had it set up where you don't want to blend UTXOs.
This is weird. This is a cakewalk problem.
Here, why don't I do it? Hang on, I can do it. Let me see. Why am I giving all this?
No, hold on. I should do it. I should be able to. Let me try.
All right.
Okay. Send. I'm sending. All right, it's sent. Let's see. 1, 2. Okay, boom.
That's cool.
It's pretty quick, right?
On MWeb too. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So
the question is, has anybody else given me any money? On you bastards. So it'll tell me if I go in here and I have a wallet, it's going to tell me what.
If you go to your dashboard, yeah.
Here, you can tell me. Oh yeah, here we go. I'll pull it up just so people can see. I've never even gotten into this world, so the fact this is set up is very cool. And I guess if you're interested, I'm just going to tell you to reach out to Animal if you want to set up a store. But so this is the settled transaction I have, how much it was, details you can jump to. I'm assuming you can copy and paste these if you want to go do some seeking on the blockchain.
And if you look at your reporting thing, you can, you can create an invoice, but if you go to reporting, that's for your bookkeeper, right? You can export all this data.
Very cool.
Compare taxes.
Does it always keep track of what the dollar amount was the day at the time?
Exactly.
That's very cool. So it timestamps it.
It makes tax keeping a breeze. It integrates actually with TurboTax. There's a TurboTax online plugin. So
again, this is something I've always wanted because I have a friend who does painting, and I'm like, dude, you should be accepting crypto. Just like home painting and stuff. And this would be great for, you're going to quote somebody, maybe it's to do yard work or something around the house, some sort of under the table sort of plumbing kind of stuff. And you just plug in, hey, it's gonna be $500. You can create your own order IDs, item description.
You can add taxes
either or
to your store.
You'll send them an email with it. That's I've always wanted this in Cake. I think they have some way, Trocador app does this or something.
Okay.
There's some integration with Cake. Maybe we can get some clarification on that to allow you to do this. But yeah, very cool.
So here, you can create an invoice, email it to them directly. It's pretty dope.
And then, so you can
also manage payouts. You can pay for things through it, right? As well through these wallets. It's a little bit more of a complicated thing. With a hot wallet, you have no issues. You should be able to do a payout pretty easily. When you have a watch only wallet, like if you use an XPub to generate payment addresses through your app, then you don't have the ability to sign transactions for payouts. And what you need to do is download a third app, the Vault app, where you do put your private keys in. And this is something like, as a merchant, you would put this on, a laptop or something, and through your interface, you'd create a payout and then sign the payout with the Vault, with the BTC Pay Vault app. It's another step. And like I said, with a hot wallet, it's not required. It's only for if you're not, if you're using the XPub key to generate addresses.
But I'll say all this so far has been extremely simple. I mean, it obviously helps to have someone like you guide to walk through it.
Right.
But the idea that, hey, I'm set up to start cutting invoices or posting QR codes, I think I think something like that, buy me a coffee, $1.99, is just kind of a simple thing that people can do quickly and easily. I remember I did that this is going way back. to a guy on YouTube that created, he was talking about Bitcoin like in 2016. And I gave him like $5 worth of Bitcoin because he posted a QR code on his page. And, that's probably worth, I don't know, $50 now, damn it. But, I think that is another great way when we talk about disentangling profits
from the financial system.
Well, the information economy, right? The ability to create and not be beholden to people outside of your listeners.
Sure.
Be able to make a living saying what they want to say and not fear retribution in some way. So,
yeah, no, it's self-sovereign, right? You're in control of your keys. No one can come seize them. Well, I don't want to say that. People can come to your door and try to seize them, but whatever.
I want to talk about, this is my last thing with self-sovereignty, and I'm going to talk about the national thing again. I've said this, and this is maybe one of the things that triggered me as well, is that you can't be self-sovereign if the land you stand on is not sovereign. If you are not protected from some sort of outside force that can take that away from you. So even
like if you're saying if you don't pay your taxes, your land tax, your property taxes.
No, I mean, like, if you, let's say we find a way to engineer society to be a libertarian culture, and the United States becomes free markets and libertarians, and it's utopia. It'll only last a very short time before another nation would take that away from you. So you do need to have collective interests that we can rally around and that are worth protecting. I literally just thought of this in the last half hour. So if it's not fleshed out, I apologize. But to me, if you're not protecting a culture, you're not really protecting anything.
Culture is important.
And if you dissolve
it's all a story, right? It's like
it's an attack on a nation if you attempt to dissolve its culture and destroy its culture, which is why people, I think, are having such a passionate reaction to all this. And something clicked in me with, I said this, like, MAGA started to make more sense to me. Not that I would assign myself to MAGA, but I'm understanding the concept of it. And like, I found myself, like these touch points of what is America, right? America is like, that song Freebird that people play. Like, to me, that's America. It's just like, we're just kind of wild, out to have a good time. But we also, we should stand up for one another. We should take pride in our work. We should promote other people that are trying to live the American dream. And the people that want to look at people living the American dream and shit on it, I think that's like a cynicism that's just been, it's been pumped into everything we do. There's nothing good about shitting on someone out trying to achieve. It doesn't help anybody. And it's like it's like the kid in school that just like wants to crap on everybody. It gets old after a while. It's childish. Churlish. So, yeah, that's where we're at. But hey, I think we've got a good hour and 40 in. So we're going to keep trying. I know next week, I think we're going to have a guy in for Lantern Fi to borrow on your crypto, or you can lend to them, but it's a kind of an exclusive group right now. And I want it to be kind of an open, I talked to him, asked some questions about it, but I think we want to really put him through his paces because we know there's a history of really bad lending practices in crypto space. And so I'd always tell you to proceed with caution. I think the Stack Mobile guys are going to come back on. And yeah, I would like to get people from a broader range in crypto. So if you have someone you think would be cool or you can help us get to talk to, send them our way. We appreciate it. So
we might have something special from Indigo too.
Oh yeah.
To show off.
Give us a week or two. We're working out some kinks on how it's going to work, but
he's been busy working. Yeah. And he's still working on it. But from what I see,
we can do one last thing. If you want to talk about Master being throttled, I'm willing to. We're going to get Litecoin specific here. So if you don't know Master, if you don't know Master, then you're not really in the Litecoin space at all. But his account got, I guess, shut down? I mean, his initial account is it still gone?
It's still suspended. He's created multiple other accounts, and they're getting suspended as well. I guess because, so this is what I'm assuming. At some point, he took on the Litecoin handle, right? And he was, I don't know, impersonating. And so someone might have reported him, or the X algo just caught it and was like, "What the fuck?" And so they suspended his account
and impersonated it.
Well, you see where it says master, master, master?
Yeah.
Here it said Litecoin, and he had the Litecoin logo as his profile picture. Now, underneath it still said master BTC LTC or whatever. But this part, like this whole area, it said Litecoin, and it looked like the Litecoin account. And when he would post, frankly, I had to look at the actual X handle to know who was who. So I'm assuming that's why his big account, and he had something like 60,000 followers. So he's been working on this account for years and years and years. It was getting tons of engagement, and it's suspended. We don't know for how long.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, under the suspension, so he posted his suspension email in another account that he created. It says that he isn't allowed to create other accounts, and that future accounts will be suspended as well. And this is what we're seeing here. So I guess if he's creating an account and he's calling it, he's creating an account and he's tying it to master. If people find out that it's him, I'm not sure if people are reporting him or what, but he's gotten a bunch of his accounts suspended. So rip to master.
Man. How can you not just create a new email? I mean, that seems. I mean, obviously, rebuilding 60,000 followers would be crazy. It's surprising that they would be that swift and permanent about it. That someone's not allowed to make a mistake.
Is it though? I mean, I don't know. This is who knows?
Some
right?
kind
especially when you have the Litecoin account who's super active and now taking on a role. I guess it might have been hard to discern. Might have made it even harder to discern what was. Because here's the thing, and I'm sorry, I'm not totally in support of what he did, because he often would post things Litecoin to 5,000, right?
Right.
That was his thing. He'd post these charts. So if you're some noob, some crypto noob, or maybe just someone who isn't paying attention for whatever reason that day, and you see the Litecoin account saying that it's going to get, or you see what looks like the Litecoin account say that it's going to get to Litecoin's going to be $5,000 by May. You're like, fuck that, I'm going all in. And you might spend a bunch of money when really Litecoin account, the Litecoin Foundation, has nothing to do with that post. Nor would they ever post anything like that. I know that the Litecoin Foundation, Charlie Lee, one of the most important things that they have, if anything, is integrity.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it kind of was going against that.
Yeah, I guess all I'm saying is I think it's maybe a 3 strikes you're out rule or something. It's surprising they would be that quick. And I don't know. I mean, you know me, I've never liked his price talk, but I also think he's obviously put a ton of work into trying to build that profile over the course of, maybe even a decade. And to think that he doesn't get a chance to, I mean, he's creating engagement on the platform. I would think Twitter would give him a break. And
for sure,
I don't know. I mean, Litecoin Foundation
doesn't mean
if you can maybe say something to X and from the Litecoin account and say, look, I understand he was impersonating, but give the guy a break. I know him. It's fine. It's misunderstanding.
We don't know how long his account's suspended for either. Could it be just a couple of weeks? Could it be a couple of months, a year? Who knows? Or maybe it's going to be up to X to decide. If they do get a request, or if they, if the Litecoin account decides not to press charges, right? And there's let him. But I don't know if they would do that. I feel like
they were probably.
I would be surprised if the Litecoin account reached out to him first and was like, "Yo, what are you doing, bro? Stop it." I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. I don't know. But I know the Litecoin Foundation, the guys there are super chill.
Right.
Although I do also know they don't have much tolerance for this kind of thing. Like I said, their integrity is one of the most important things they got. And I think in this space, it is, one of the key things that bring value to your community.
And certainly we're on the precipice of like a major
ETF. Yeah.
Yeah. Please do not F this up kind of thing. Right.
Totally.
So, yeah, I mean, a master's, like, I've never met a more passionate person about something. I mean, the guy literally lives and breathes like, if you meet him in person, it's a big part of him. So I'm sure this hurts it's got to hurt. It's a lot of work. I don't even have that. I haven't been doing this half as long, and I have a 10th of the followers. And so it would be tough. I had a hard time letting it go. I was seeing it kind of disappear. I'm like, oh, it's just gone. Like, literally it's evaporated. Everything the people I've met, the community we built is still there, but that there's some of an identity to it.
Second only to the Litecoin account itself in terms of engagement for Litecoin.
Say that again.
His account was second only to the Litecoin official Litecoin account in terms of user engagement on X.
Yeah, I think he used a lot of bots and stuff too.
Definitely, he had scripts running that were posting things automatically, while he was asleep or whatever. I doubt he went and copy and pasted messages himself and pictures and created posts. I think he did have. I mean, that's totally cool. You're allowed to do that. There's nothing against Twitter rules that say you can't schedule posts, for example.
Right. Yeah.
So that everything was above board. It was just that one thing, and it's like, I don't think I can't excuse that either. Like I understand X's stance, and I just hope there's a path to redemption for him, because losing that account, losing those 60,000 followers, and all the account history and post history sucks big time.
Yeah.
And maybe there is some recourse you can take. So, I don't know. It'd be cool if you could just pay a fine and get it over with, but likely he's going to be in Twitter jail for a while.
Well, you have free speech. It's like I'm all about free speech, but also there are rules to speech, even in a free speech society, as far as fraud and, scamming people. Yeah. You can't misrepresent.
Yeah, you can say whatever you like to me, but there's nothing stopping me from decking you for saying it.
Well, but I mean, like, you can't defraud people, right? That's which my thing against a lot of these maximalists. I think they're defrauding people by claiming Bitcoin is the only one that does X, Y, and Z, when it's clearly not true, and it's in the interest of getting people to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the time they're lying by omission.
Incorrect information. That's fraud. That's, just flat out what it is.
They say Bitcoin's the only one that's like that. Actually, Litecoin is also a lot like Bitcoin, and in many ways superior. So, yeah.
Yep. Well, Rip Master. I know, like, Rare Passenger, his is suspended too, and I don't know why. I would guess maybe something more political, but he's, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm really strict in what I post. I've gotten suspended one time because I said something. It was I was commenting to somebody about, like, maybe even like they kill it or something with the word kill was in it, but it wasn't used in the way like I'm going to kill you, but it just puts you in like a review period where they're going to go, okay, either you can delete it or, they'll message you and say, hey, this is what happened. Do you want to delete the post or do you want to just edit it or whatever? And, most of the time it's not that big a deal. I'm not going to, I'm not going to be that married to one particular post that I can't find a way to reword more eloquently.
But they reached out to you and they did say, hey, watch it, buddy.
Yeah. I think, a lot of times it used to like intercept a message. Mm-hmm. Maybe it still does. It just doesn't happen to me very often, where it'll say, are you sure you want to post this? Because this has some language that might be inflammatory, or, I feel like I put in like a review, like, hey, what happened? Service ticket. And they came back and told me why, but I honestly couldn't tell you. But it was something along those lines. It was like I used a word that, like with I think on YouTube they don't want you to say gun, they don't want you to say murder or suicide, that type of stuff. So a lot of creators just edit themselves.
Or use euphemisms.
They say sluicide or murder, something like that.
The C word, the big C.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. I like what Jimmy
the V word
about the vaccine, and he's like, just so you know,
yeah, we just got deplatformed on YouTube now. Thanks.
Vaccines are safe and effective. Like he always, he just says the thing ironically that he's supposed to say.
Yeah.
So there's always ways around it, and I think free speech is in the right direction. I think we really had a huge win with Trump. Maybe next week we could talk a little bit about the college campus protests, because that's where I don't like what he's doing, but I think there's a gray area. I think it's worth a conversation what he's doing.
Again? Talked about that last week or 2 weeks ago.
Well, it's happened more often. He's doing it more.
Has it? All right.
Getting funding to universities, and it's an interesting.
It's hard to keep up, man.
It's nuanced. Oh, I know. So, all right. Well, hey, man, it's been good seeing you again, and everybody, whoever's come over from underground, I appreciate you, and I think these are going to be a lot more fun. We're going to do more work to chop these up. I might start doing spaces again, just because I think it's really helpful for the audience and to re-engage with people. But
you're talking about engaging with other spaces too, right?
If you like what we're doing, share it, man. Like, tell people about the account. I think it's important to grow this audience, not just
100%
fish gains, but I think it's good for the discourse on the internet. So, all right,
yeah, subscribe to our new YouTube channel, like it and share it, please. And yeah, have a nice weekend, guys.
Yeah, take it easy, everyone.